Well, good afternoon, John.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you all. How are you doing there, John?
All right, mate. All right.
Good. All right is better than not all right, and it's what I like to hear. Well, there's certainly something going on, isn't there, John?
There's loads going on, mate. Loads going on.
We do have a video coming out, maybe later this afternoon, maybe this evening, about what we watched this morning.
Yes, that's given the show its impressive title.
It has, yeah. Jeremy Hunt, you can use your imaginations as to what the C word directly preceding it is.
We used to play a card game in which one had to hunt for the Black Queen.
Let's not go there.
And we used to call it the same thing.
Well, he's
anyway.
Is he on the list, or should we talk about him now?
No, we should introduce the show.
You want to introduce the show?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
No, okay, let's talk about...
You want to do it right now?
Yeah, let's talk about it right now.
No,
if you want.
You're on big screen now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just like, let's turn around and reverse everything we've done. Because of... Why? Because, let's face it, we haven't had those changes implemented long enough to determine if they were going to do anything or not, have we?
Well, no, absolutely not. And it just seems like the only reason this is being done is to undermine the credibility of both Kwasi Kwarteng, obviously, and Prime Minister Liz Truss, who, as I said whilst we were watching it earlier on, I said this is outstanding that the Chancellor is directly addressing the nation and not the Prime Minister.
Yeah,
it astounded me.
And it seems to have been. It really seems to have been done by corporations and MSM.
Yeah,
they seem to be running the country these days, not our elected servants. I can't call them leaders because nobody shows any leadership here. And to be fair, they shouldn't be showing any leadership because they are public servants.
Absolutely.
They work for us. And this is something that you should never stop reminding them of because they always forget. And then they go back and use words like when they're talking to each other, like, who's going to rule? No, nobody's going to rule because you don't rule, because we have the power to remove you.
Well, we're supposed to have the power to remove them.
We do have the power to, we should have. In fact, that's a good point, Ben, because see this 5-year term without any election thing, that shouldn't be. The public should be able to call an election any time it wants.
Yeah, so like let's say, for example, in California, when Gavin Newsom was recalled by a petition, the public should be able to petition whenever they want to recall their government. And the only reason that this isn't the case now is because something David Cameron and Nick Clegg envisioned called the Fixed Term Parliament Act, which basically guarantees a 5-year premiership for whoever is elected. And I think you're right. I think it's wrong. It shouldn't be the case, and those who implemented such a thing should be removed.
5-year plans. Where does that sound familiar from? 5-year plans. Was it Soviet Russia? Was it Mao's China? 5-year plans? That sounds a bit communist.
It does, and with that, John, introduce the show.
I'd like to welcome one and all to this episode 142 of Chasing Dissent Live, your irreverent news show from me and Ben.
Good afternoon, and it's a new week. It's spooky season, Johnny. It's spooky season. It's Halloween.
It is spooky season.
I'm as you know, I've been working on the weekend on a few little stingers, and
yeah. I saw your T-shirt. And let's just say that was less than successful.
Do you know what Sydney just said to me? You know our young friend Citizen Sid?
Yeah.
Yeah, she said to me on Instagram that T-shirt makes me look like I've been out on a coke session all weekend.
Yeah, it's
just a massive nosebleed.
It's not. It doesn't even look like blood though. It's pink.
Well,
It's the wrong colour.
well,
Blood goes a kind of rusty brown, you know,
Yeah.
when it's dried.
Yeah, I mean it's not pink. That might just be my camera.
Well,
making
it's your
that
camera.
pink.
Your camera's shite then.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not like we can't all be like you, John, with your fancy camera. Look at ya.
But this isn't a new camera. I mean, it's an
know.
old camera. I've had this camera for 6 years or something.
It looks stunning. It looks gorgeous. It looks glorious. With that, John, do we have a list?
Yes, Ben, we do have a list. In fact, we've got such an extensive list that I don't think we'll get through it all. And I'm not going to try and break speed records to try and get through it. So it'll just carry on into tomorrow.
All right, I'm rolling VT.
VT?
Okie dokie, as they say, the hokey cokey. Where do we begin today, John?
Well, let's begin in Russia.
Yes.
In a training ground just over the Ukrainian border for people who had volunteered to go and fight the war. You know, Russian conscripts, volunteers, whatever. And there appeared to be some kind of terrorist attack within the base.
Okay.
Which resulted in 13 people being shot dead.
That's never good.
At least 13 people shot dead.
I mean, that's really, really not good.
Yeah, it's different. I don't know if this is. I don't know if you consider this part and parcel of war or whatever, but it appears that the people that did the shooting are not Ukrainians.
Well, that's very. They were
identified.
Odd.
They were identified as cis country, and cis in this point has nothing to do with your persuasion. It's you know, basically former Soviet bloc countries. You know, the ones that fell in line with Russia.
Yeah, well.
So they were citizens of those countries, which is interesting.
Well, what's interesting to me is I guarantee you, as these very clearly would have been Russians that are shot dead, then I don't even need to say it. I guarantee you there were people on social media, on Twitter, celebrating this because it's what keeps happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ukrainian stuff. I mean, there's Ukrainian stuff coming up in the list. It's just they're pretty sick people.
Yeah.
They really are. You know, I mean, they're crowing about death and destruction, and yet they're bleating like sheep as soon as it happens to them. I mean, one of the tweets that came out this morning was kamikaze drones used in Kiev, but it was fine when they were dropping their drones on, on Russians. So, I mean, make your mind up. You know, two-way street. One way or the other.
I still maintain that none of it is fine. All of these civilians need to just turn around and say, no, we just want to live our lives. Because ultimately these wars are fought by governments. They are fought by civilians, but they are waged by governments. And at the end of the day, you can call me an anarchist if you want, but I think your government, no matter where you are, be it Russia, Ukraine, here in the UK, even the USA, they do not have your best interest at heart. They've never had your best interest at heart.
Do not.
And all they're doing in situations like this is sending you to your death. So at some point, you've got to turn around. We've all got to turn around, and not just in this situation, but in any situation where they are absolutely shafting us, we've got to say no, because these governments only have the power that we give them. And my wife put that little video I made out on Twitter earlier, and saying yes, obeying a government, doing as you are told, unthinking. You look at the financial crisis that we are in now, and that is wholly because people did not have the guts, the foresight, or the fortitude to stand up and say no to their governments. And this situation, this Russia-Ukraine situation, is the same thing.
I mean, it's like no one held them to account. No one.
No.
Not the opposition, not any other party, and certainly not the people, and certainly not the MSN. So no one held these people to account.
No, you're right.
And the thing is, if you went into a restaurant and get served, you know, say you ordered a beef burger and somebody put down a salad.
Yeah.
Would you hold them to account, or would you just eat the salad and and slink
Well,
quietly away, because that's what you did, people.
yeah.
For 2.5 years, that's what you did. You let people walk all over you, and you said nothing.
Nothing.
You just took it.
You're right. You're right.
You know, it's as much their fault as it is theirs, because, you know, you give a bully the chance, they're just going to keep bullying.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Shall we move on to our next news story then?
Yes,
And
let's
this
do
one
so.
comes from @CitizenJournos, who I actually quite like over on Twitter. So what have we got here?
Well, it's a reminder, because there's been an awful lot of fact checking, and
This
you
is
know,
that
there
picture that I showed you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm bringing it back because there's been so much that there aren't any real. You know, there's no real Nazis in Ukraine. It's all a fabrication. The people aren't that bad. You know, it's not a country that's number 3 in the world for promoting child pornography. It's not a country that has an appalling human rights record on women.
You're right.
It's not a country that persecutes Romanies.
So I showed you this picture anyway, because this is a picture that was on Reuters, right? And it was. It just looked like an innocent picture. It just simply said, in Kharkiv, a random local resident is searching the wreckage or the rubble of a Russian attack. And we zoom in on that photo, and we see a massive swastika tattooed on his arm. This was in Reuters. This is real.
It's just a Scandinavian pagan symbol.
Yeah. Or is it an Indian peace symbol?
Yeah, it's the wrong way around for that.
Yes.
Because that's one thing that our friends the Germans did do when they adopted it in the 30s. They reversed it, so it's not an Indian peace symbol.
No, you're right. You're right. And let me just put that on screen for you one more time before we do move on, because I showed this to the guys. I said, look at this shit. And they were like, they didn't believe me. I told them. I said, it's just a picture of someone looking through the rubble. And Reuters just happened to put in their photo a guy with a massive one of those tattooed on his arm. And they were going, no, surely not. Surely not. And I said, look.
And they fact checked it and then pulled it down, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they did. Shall we move on?
Yeah.
Shall we move on?
Let's move on.
So we have...
Yeah, so not content with destroying democracy over the last 2.5 to 3 years.
Yep.
The Tory party now want to destroy any semblance of voting or fairness within their own membership.
They do.
They just want to be able to make things up as they go along, and just pluck people from, you know, a pool of suitable candidates.
So what's happening here is that basically the 1922 Backbench Committee are going to change their rules. So, or are intending to change their rules so that when they do ultimately remove Liz Truss from office, and that's coming, it's a matter of when, not if, when they do remove Liz Truss from office, they can simply install someone. Rather than going to the membership, going to have a leadership contest, to have a leadership vote, because look at the circus and the farce we had between people like, you know, Sunak and Mordaunt and Badenoch and Truss and, you know, Tommy the Tug Engine.
But the whole thing was made ridiculous by the whole media circus that went around it. I mean, were they trying to do some kind of American thing? Because I've never seen that happen before. I've never seen people being queried by the press, been having press conferences when it comes to leadership contests. I mean, it's always been kind of held behind closed doors.
Yeah, but what we've got here, like you say, we had this massive circus, and I never understood. And I said during the debates, because we streamed some of the debates, didn't we, John?
Yeah, we did. And I said until they stopped them because they couldn't do them anymore because of the arguments.
But I said during these debates, the country's not choosing this Prime Minister. It's simply the Tory membership. So why on earth are we even having these televised debates? For whose benefit is it?
It really, I don't know. I don't know if they were just trying to judge the mood of the country. And if so, they've done really well.
Yeah, no, I suppose you're right. Speaking of stupid leaders, let's move over to the United States and see what Dementia Joe has to say, shall we, John?
Well, Uncle Joe's been he's been quite active this weekend.
Yeah.
He was out in Carolina, I think, or Raleigh in one of the Carolinas, and at a university, and told some young girl, no serious boyfriends until you're at least 30.
He did, yeah. Yeah, well,
And,
giving her, he did attempt to give her a sniff as well.
We'll come on to the sniff pics. But he did say that his economy is strong as hell while munching on the Baskin Robbins ice cream.
He does like
product placement there.
He does like munching on his ice cream, and people.
He does.
And once again, we can go to actually link that to dementia, can't we?
Well, possibly. Yeah, maybe it takes him back to his youth.
Because people do say that.
Yeah, that same weekend, and indeed in that very Baskin Robbins. If we go to the next slide, we have Joe in action getting the old sniff
there
test.
we go. There we go. Go on, Joe. Get your.
Look at him moving in on them. He just can't. He just cannot. He cannot resist.
No, he can't. And do you know what? It's a I find this whole Joe Biden situation a crying shame, because we obviously have a demented man, right? He has dementia. He's not well. He's
he does.
He's just being held up
He's not well.
as some kind of puppet, and it's really sad. It's really strange, and it doesn't make much sense to me.
None whatsoever, mate. None whatsoever.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to Kemi Badenoch.
We're coming back to the UK then for Kemi Badenoch.
Yeah, because Kemi's been endorsed by Britain First.
You what?
Now, yeah, this is quite strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because Britain First are a kind of out there organisation, are they not?
Well, they're classed as far right, aren't they?
Yeah. Some would even say neo-Nazis.
So yeah, I don't know if they would be right in that respect, but
they are very far right, actually.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Which is, yeah. So it's a bit of a strange juxtaposition, and then people are saying that Kemi Badenoch is indeed a neo, and I'm like, really?
Wait a minute.
Wait.
Let me stop you there. People are saying that Kemi Badenoch, this woman,
is actually
a white supremacist.
That far right that she could almost could be. Well, why not? In this day and age, why not?
Huh?
That's I tell you. It's cats and dogs in the street.
It seems to be cats and dogs in the street. It's very interesting. And now, before we do move on, if you're watching the show and you are enjoying it, then please don't forget to leave a like on the show. And if you can see down below me right now, we got this new little widget thing. And if you feel like supporting us over on our preferred donation method, Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/chasing Dissent, link is in the chat. You can write a little message and it pops up on the screen during the show and reads it out in a little robot voice. So if you would feel like doing that, then please consider doing so down below. We would really, really appreciate it. Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Are we going to Canada now by the looks of it, aren't we?
We're zipping back across the pond to our friends in Ontario. And now I
don't know if you call them friends.
I cannot get my head around this statement. Right? Could you read it to me and tell me what you take from that?
So this is from True North at True North Centre. It says Ontarians may be forced into wearing masks again this winter if they don't start doing it voluntarily, according to the province's top doctor. Now, before we do deep dive into that statement, the top doctor, how does he have the right to make that call? How does he have the right to decide whether or not you do cover your face or not?
First of all, the first question I have to ask myself is, how is something voluntarily if the alternative is being forced to do it?
Well, it's not, is it? Let's face it, it's not.
It's not. That's coercion.
Yeah.
Is it not?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that to me is just plain and simple tyrannical dictatorship.
Of course it is. That is, eat your green vegetables or I'll force them down your throat.
Yeah.
It's what it is. It's treating the public like babies. It's treating the citizens like children. It's saying, unless you do this by choice, we will force you. We'll put the reins on you. Do you remember the reins, John?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And it's back to nanny state, isn't it? That's all it is. Back to nanny state.
And still, despite that, we have even the Canadian airlines themselves are releasing statements saying we know this measure was a farce.
Yeah.
And yet they're going, you better do it, or else you better do it.
Or else, yep.
Oh.
If you don't do it, you'll have us to tangle with.
And I'm flabbergasted. I think it's all so ridiculous. Now let's jump back over to Ukraine, shall we, John?
Oh God. Well, right. So this is Ukraine jumping on a bandwagon here that I kind of thought wasn't this. I didn't think this was determined because this guy's apparently been put in charge of Russia's frontline operations in Ukraine, which means he's on the front line, and they're saying, let's go and get him and hold him accountable for bringing down MH17. You remember MH17?
I've actually seen the footage of it being brought down. It definitely came down by surface-to-air missile.
Oh, yeah. But there's a whole host of questions around where that surface-to-air missile originated and what model it was, because the model that brought it down wasn't in use by the Russian army at that point.
Yeah.
Having said that, right, the whole question of that plane being brought down was a bit strange as well, because that was the one that had all those Dutch people on it, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it was the one that had... Was that the one that had the people that had the patents?
That could have been the other
one.
Is
that the other one?
There were two There were two MH flights.
Oh right,
come
this
down
is the people.
Year.
This is the people that were going to the virology conference, wasn't it?
Yes.
Right, and there was a huge Dutch presence on the plane. Yeah, right. So anyway, I don't think it's clear cut as the Ukrainians seem to be making out, because I still think there's questions to be answered and a determination to be made as to who actually brought that plane down. And as far as I'm concerned, it's still 50-50.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree with you.
In fact, it might even be slightly biased the other way.
Well, you could be
gonna get called a Russian sympathizer. I'll be told I'll be supporting Putin.
I mean, you could be right. And so
could be.
We just don't know is the answer to that. Shall we move on to the New York Post?
Yeah, let's go back across the pond.
We are darting around today, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Okay, because we really want to ramp up our climate change credentials, don't we? We want to use as much carbon as we possibly can.
Are the idiots are the idiots currently in Dartford on this list?
Yeah, of course they are.
Okay, so we won't talk about them just yet then.
Right. Well, what about? Do you remember Huma Abedin?
I mean, I don't, but please
do you not remember
me.
From Hillary Clinton's campaign?
Oh.
And John Podesta and all that.
Yeah.
And Huma Abedin. She's apparently open to running for president.
I mean, but the thing is, okay, so yeah, I'm in the United Kingdom, so I'm not her target audience, but still, I feel like I'm dialed into this whole politics thing enough to know that if I go then she's not going to win.
No, I think she's been out of the limelight for too long now.
I think you're right, but it's still, all power to her. If she wants to run and she wants to get embarrassed, then.
Yeah, she was the guy that it was her husband that got into bother for having the affair. Remember?
They do like affairs, rich people, don't they?
Yeah.
And they're always rich. Let's face it, they're always rich.
Yeah, of course they are. They're all rich.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, we're darting back to Ukraine, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
We are going. We are bouncing back and forth, going to the Eastern Bloc, the United States.
We're not quite sure if this is Ukraine or if it's Hollywood.
Okay.
Because this is a part of a video, and these guys are staging. They're staging the death of a Russian fighting vehicle.
Yeah.
There's a guy off to the left with a big pot of stuff that he's now burning and spreading smoke over the thing. These guys are there with the cameras, and then when the guy shouts action, the wee gun turret moves. so, so Ukraine is very. I mean, the whole thing is very much a wag the dog story, and
Yeah,
these
it
little
is.
snippets that come out, they are quite engaging, and don't get me wrong, it's not just Ukraine, but it's mainly Ukraine that puts them out. There's not an awful lot coming out from the Russian side, although
Yeah.
there probably is some, but some.
I mean,
That's right. It was Wiener. It was Wiener Militant Mushroom.
Yeah,
Anthony
it was.
Wiener.
Anthony
Wiener.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, Anthony Weiner is the name that I know out of the two. So, if Anthony Weiner was going to run, then I go, oh yeah, I know who that is. But Huma
well,
Aberdeen, the wife,
is his wife.
mm,
Yeah, but she was a top aide to Hillary.
yeah, but not many people know who she is. Let's face it.
Yeah, well, they do in America, I think.
Well, fair enough. But yeah, going back to this is ridiculous. Whether or not we'll never know the truth behind this situation because we're not there. But we look at people like Zelensky, and he's done that weird hologram green screeny thing. We know all of his main videos when he appears on the streets are very clearly green screen or blue screen because of his shirt. It's
and there's some photographs coming up as well that you can tell me if they've been photoshopped or not, because they look really, really dodgy.
Okay, well, let's move to our favourite Twitter account, shall we?
Oh, good God. This has to be a parody. It has to be. I mean, it's like they keep putting these things up and showing us how many, how much artillery, how many. I mean, they've destroyed 2,500 tanks. Where the fuck are these tanks?
Well,
because if you've destroyed 2,500 tanks, they must be littered all over the country. And
well,
yet
think so.
we see the occasional video of a tractor pulling a tank,
Mm.
or a tank pulling an armored personnel vehicle, but you can't walk. Surely you can't walk any more than 100 yards before falling over a destroyed Russian tank.
Well, you would think so. They've also apparently they've shot down, what is that? 1,224 drones. We've got 268 military jets out of the sky here. 242 helicopters downed.
Yeah.
I mean,
306. They've shot down 316 cruise missiles.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Apparently, according to Zelensky, they need better air defenses.
Yeah.
So something's not tying up. They're either doing this, and it's right, or they're not doing it, and it's complete fabrication. And I'll give you a guess as to which side I'm coming down on.
So before we move on, once again, please, if you are watching this on YouTube and you're enjoying it, just hit a like. Give it a like. And if you feel so inclined, then please, there's a little button down there. It says share. We would really, really appreciate you hitting that and sharing this show out and getting more people to come in and join. If you're on Twitch, hello, you can do the same. And if you're on Facebook, you can also share this show out as well. We would really, really, really appreciate that. Now, moving on, what do you have for us next, John?
Right, so I did a bit of a defence of the Just Stop Oil people last week, saying that as far as I was concerned, they had as much right to protest as anyone else, as long as it was peaceful. Right? But now they're committing crimes. They're spraying paint on things, and they're pouring milk all over the place. Mm-hmm. So that's
the milk is not Just Stop Oil. That's animal.
Yeah,
rebellion.
well, okay, that's animal rebellion. But Just Stop Oil are now doing things that aren't peaceful protest anymore, because spraying a car showroom with orange paint isn't. I mean, how does that help anyone? Well, and you know what? I'd like to know what kind of paint it was. Was it oil based?
Probably. I mean, look at the thing. The thing about these lot is they're using phones. They're wearing oil-based clothes. Their shoes will be oil-based. Their phones obviously full of components made with or from oil. They are hypocrites of the highest order. I guarantee you, they all came in cars, and they are ridiculous. They are ridiculous. They are turning. They're doing I think a week of action or something like that. And now, I mean, they are just they're getting on people's nerves.
Yeah.
And when you do that, when when you get on people's nerves, they don't tend to take your side. So I don't see what the point is. It's almost like an own goal. If you want people to hate you, despise you, just stop oil, keep doing the things you're doing. And I think the public has already very much turned on you. I mean, we'll come back to just stop oil in a bit. But
and the animal people are just as bad, to be fair.
Of course they are. They're in the supermarkets. They're stealing milk, so that's theft in itself.
Yeah.
They are stealing milk, and they are pouring it out all over the place. We were talking last night. They were in bloody Harrods, pouring milk all over the meat counter.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Absolutely
It is crazy. Shall we move on to the Netherlands?
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of food, this isn't food. I don't know what's going on with the Dutch. They seem to have lost it. So they're giving kids things like mealworms and that. They're trying to get people to eat this crap, and we're not designed to eat this.
I don't know why they're continually pushing it. I really don't.
I can't see any good coming of this, because chitin is not a product that you should be eating in any kind of quantity. I mean, you think about it. Okay, you might get a crunch when you go, right? But those little shards of chitin are really sharp. I mean, they could be slicing your gut to bits inside. You don't really know what's going on, and you're not digesting it, because that's not going to break down. So that's causing no good to you whatsoever. It's just going to go right through.
But regardless of the situation, regardless of even the statements you've made there, I just don't want to eat that shite.
No, I don't.
And it's not.
I mean,
it's not.
I think
this is what's pissing me off, right? And we can go back to like the animal rebellion. I'm going to go back to the animal rebellion for a minute, because these people are demanding that we have some kind of plant-based or even bug-based diet. Yeah, they are demanding that all of us conform to their way of life, and they are doing things to almost threaten us into doing so. There's a word for that, isn't there? When you want to control everybody, every aspect of their lives, and demand under force or via force that they do as you say, conform. Isn't that called fascism, John?
Yeah. Or if you're not quite as bad, maybe communism, but it's definitely along those lines.
It's definitely heavily authoritarian. It's basically
we're looking at you.
China is asshole.
Well, I will say this, and this is a direct message to the animal rebellion people, and even the Just Stop Oil people, right? If you don't want to eat animals, if you don't want to consume dairy, if you want to live a very unhealthy plant-based diet, and you don't want to use oil for anything, don't. Right?
Yeah, don't just
practice
do your own thing.
Do your own thing. Have at it. Enjoy it. Practice what you preach. But when it comes to me, and when it comes to John here, when it comes to people watching or people listening, they don't have to do what you want. We aren't your servants. We don't do your bidding. You don't rule us. I'm all for new oil. I'm all for new gas and things like that. If you don't want to be a part of it, then remove yourself from the situation. But stop demanding that we conform. Shall we move on?
Yes, let's move on. And this one, I'm not actually wanting to speak about the treatment as such. No. Right? What I want to speak about is the fact-checking process again. And this is where, they've gone off and they've gone and fact-checked something that they've made up.
Yeah.
Rather than what was actually said.
So let's read this here.
Yeah, so they've now got a determination on a fact-check that wasn't what we were talking about in the first place.
No,
but something they've read into it.
This happens quite a lot. So the AP, the Associated Press fact check here says, Pfizer never claimed to have tested the impact of its COOF treats on transmission ahead of its 2020 release, despite misleading claims suggesting the company lied about this issue. But
that's not what we said. That's not what we said. It wasn't that we said they never tested it. What we said was they claimed that it prevented transmission.
Yeah, they did.
And that's a matter of public record.
And it wasn't just them, was it? It was.
No, it wasn't just them.
It was world leaders. It was politicians. I mean, Joe Biden. Joe Biden himself is on video going, if you take this vaccine, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get COVID.
Exactly. So the fact check itself It's fact checking something that no one's really bothered about, because our problem isn't so much what they did or didn't test, even though that is a problem. But
Yeah.
in this case, the problem is they're fact checking falsities, because they're making up what they want to fact check, because that's the only way they can answer the way they want to.
You're absolutely right. Shall we move on to our next story, John?
Yeah.
So we have here from Father Calvin Robinson.
Indeed.
Let's
We
pray.
do. This is Bournemouth. This is down your neck of the woods.
Yeah, okay. So what's going on over in Bournemouth then?
Well, apparently Bournemouth Council have put up a safe zone.
For what?
Well, it's around a, it's around, oh, hold on.
Hold on.
I can't, right, it's around an abortion clinic, I think.
Okay.
And you are not allowed to be in that safe zone or protest in that, you're not allowed to protest in that safe zone between the hours of like 7 and 7.
Right.
If you are asked to leave that safe zone, then you have to do so and not return until after 7 o'clock.
What?
Yeah. And if you're excluded from that safe zone, you're not allowed to enter it between the hours of
Is this
7 and
legal?
7. Well, apparently that it's protected by a public spaces protection order. This to me sounds very Chinese.
It really does. It doesn't sound legal. It doesn't sound legal.
Well, I have no reason to doubt Father Calvin Robinson. He tends to
I've
be.
no reason. I know. I've no reason to
Like-
doubt that this is real, but
Yeah.
I'm doubting that this is even legal.
I think it's probably a local order. The legality of that and how much you could challenge it would then be up to the courts, really, wouldn't it?
I would agree. I would agree. Shall we move on from that then?
Yeah. Okay. Quite interesting, this.
Right, go for it.
Well, you've got the New York Post and the Guardian saying the same thing.
That's very interesting. That's very weird, actually.
Yeah, but completely different arenas, completely different times.
Yeah, and you know, the first time it was the boy who cried wolf, it wasn't true.
That's right.
So carry on.
So the second time, when the boy cries wolf, it's probably not true either.
Well, this is it. So the Guardian 11 years ago accused Colonel Muammar Gaddafi of supplying his troops with Viagra to do nasty things to women during war. It wasn't true. It was propaganda. I think it came out of the UN. It wasn't. It was a lie. And now we have from the New York Post, and it's not just the New York Post, other outlets are saying the same thing here as well, that Russia is giving its soldiers Viagra to do these things to Ukrainians, also coming out of the UN. And unfortunately, like you said, it's the boy who cried wolf, and I'm not sure I believe it.
Yeah, it's like, remember the babies that get turfed onto the cold tiled floor of the Iraqi hospital,
Yeah.
of the Kuwaiti hospital, because they wanted the incubators.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be a complete and utter fabrication as well.
Yeah,
In fact, the nurse turned out to be the ambassador's daughter.
yeah, it's not real.
playing it being a nurse.
And so when it comes to people like the UN, I find it very hard to believe a lot of the things that they say these days. And it's because of their track record. Their track record says they've tried this one before. The exact same thing, just the antagonist was different. And it was bollocks then. And you have to wonder, is it bollocks now?
Exactly.
And then you see people. I've seen people tweeting, "Oh, Russia defenders defend this," and it's like, defend what? It's a woman saying something. It's a woman saying so. If it's true, I'll tell you what, I'll condemn it wholeheartedly. If it's true, but I'm not so sure that it is. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know, and it's worrying, isn't it?
And remember we had Piers Morgan. Remember Piers Morgan accused the British soldiers of peeing on their prisoners of war.
Yeah, and it was fabricated. It wasn't real.
That again was a complete and utter fabrication.
And I'll tell you what else is a fabrication, John.
What?
Democracy, because let's look at this petition here.
Bring back Boris.
And this is from
Well,
the Conservative Post.
Yeah, well, I mean, we brought this up. When did we bring this up? On our Friday night show, I think I had a bit of a rant about this, didn't I?
And if you haven't watched that, go back and watch that show. It is a scream.
Yeah, not the
brilliant.
Friday afternoon one, the Friday evening one. That is.
It's called Friday Night Live. Go back and watch it. It is hilarious. It's a new series we're starting called Chasing Dissent All In. And the first one, I think, was a great success.
Yeah.
But here we go. Bring back Boris, John.
Yeah. So, hey, you never know, they might.
You never know.
See, the problem is, as it stands right now, the Tory party is inelectable.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, any other party should be as well, because none of them have achieved anything over the last 3 years.
No.
But the only thing that the Tories have got going for them is they have someone that the public love.
Yeah.
And what did they do? They stabbed them in the back and threw him out.
But don't get me wrong.
I don't like Boris.
No, neither do I.
The public love Boris.
They do. They absolutely
the general
adore him.
public. Yeah. I mean, he's like part of the royal family almost, amongst that set.
They come out to see him, don't they? The public come out for Boris. They do.
Yeah, they will. And so if they brought back Boris, yeah, they would look like idiots on the world stage. But hey, that wouldn't faze Boris, because he's more than happy to hang himself from a zip line, isn't he?
Yeah, and get stuck. Yeah, which was obviously a stunt in itself, right?
Yeah, of course it was. Yeah.
Boris the Clown is a well-conceived, well-crafted, and well-thought-out character. It's not real. It's his friends don't call him Boris. His friends call him by his real name, which is Alexander.
Yeah.
He wants that Boris persona out there for the public, that clown, that cheeky chappy, that man of the people, and it has worked. It has worked a treat. It has worked on the public. £7.84 says the public are mugs. That may well be true.
But what are you going to do about it?
Well, this is it. This is exactly
if they were real mugs, though, they'd be watching us and paying us loads of money, and
yes.
they're not.
And with that, if you really, if you are enjoying what we're doing, then please stick a like down on the show, share the show out. We really appreciate a share. And if you would like to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/Chasing Dissent. Subscribe star. No, we're scrubbing subscribe star, but we'll come to that. Or ko-fi.com/Chasing Dissent. Now, if you do it through Ko-fi and you do it during the show, you can put a little message in. And that message will come up on the show, read by a robot voice, live right now, because we've got that little widget thing included, which is actually really quite cool.
And they did it. Someone did it. Steph Wright did it on Friday night.
She did, yeah. It was really good. Really good. So thank you for doing that. Shall we move on to the world of literature?
Yes. But should we just quickly say, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. Ko-fi is our preferred partner as well, because they don't take a cut.
No, we get
everything.
We get everything, and it will top up my coffee and keep on my lights. And the same with you, John. So
yes.
We would really appreciate it. Let's move on anyway to the world of literature.
Yes, and this is Black History Month, believe it or not.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is. So apparently, according to this black novelist, black writers are underrepresented in the top 10 list, not because they're not very good or their writing's poor. It's because of marketing and publicity.
So what they're trying to say, that they don't get the publicity and the marketing because they're black?
Well, that appears to be what she's trying to say, and yet I would have thought it would have went the other way.
Well, in this day and age, in this climate, I would agree with that statement that you just made. Yeah.
So, I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous.
The thing is, look at us. Look at us. Where's our marketing? Where's our publicity?
Maybe we should get a dwarf, and we should maybe consider getting a black person on staff.
Oh, no. No, right? I'm not hiring Gary Lineker.
Black Gary's gaff of the week.
Ba, 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 ba.
And And moving on, I think, do you remember the people that defaced themselves with these wonderful tattoos? Do you think they're having regret now?
I wonder if many of them are still alive.
Well, there's always that. But,
There is always that, but do you know what? I don't understand why they did this. Okay, listen, my stance is very clear. It's always been very clear. If you want to get a medication, you go and get that medication. Doesn't matter. You don't have to advertise it to the world.
Yeah.
Don't have to tell us what medications you have and have not had. I mean, look at the one in the top right, for God's sake. That's their actual card.
I know.
They got their actual card tattooed on them.
I'm wondering if when they get to the airport, do they roll their sleeve up and go, there you go.
There you go. Got it.
It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I mean, the top left one you can kind of get away with, right? The top left one I think is all right. It's just a little plaster with a smiley face on it.
Well, yeah, okay, you could get away with that. The other three are ridiculous. Though.
I mean, I've got a little stick man and my name tattooed on my right leg. I've got the Volkswagen logo, crossbones on my neck. I've got loads of ridiculous tattoos. I've got Spider-Man on there. But there's not going to be any buyer's remorse for these. There will be for these, especially if adverse events were to occur, shall we say.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And like you said, they have absolutely defaced themselves. I imagine there is buyer's remorse. There is buyer's regret. And, you know, at the end of the day...
And speaking of buyer's regret, old Doug Brignole, or Brignole.
See, I'm not sure I like this story. So you go for it, but I'm not sure I like it.
Why don't you like it? Do you think it's wrong?
Well, it's not. Okay, so we have to be very, very careful and very critical with the things that we look into. And okay, let's have a look at this. So Doug Brignole says he tweeted out about a year and a half ago, "I have enough confidence in the treats based on my research to get it done. Those of you who think the treat kills people can use me as a test. If I die, you were right. If I don't die and have no ill effects, you were wrong and should admit it, but at least to yourselves. Better yet, you should admit that you were misled and tell the world who misled you so other people can benefit by avoiding those fearmongers." And then what's the next story there?
Well, he died.
Yeah, this is my problem. There's almost, if not over a year between these two events.
Yeah, and that's not unusual.
No, that's not unusual, but it just simply says he died, passes away at 63. What did he die of? How did he die? And this is why I have real problems.
Well, see, that's the problem, because the cause of death is unknown.
Yeah, and this is why I have.
And that's the leading cause of death in Alberta at the moment. Remember?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But the thing is, like I said, I'm not confident in nailing my colours to the mast and saying it's 100% his treats that killed him until I know.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that you know, his test of one there has failed.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
You know.
And it's quite funny, although it's not funny. But it's quite ironic. And if it does turn out to be that maybe one of his boosties did him in, then we will happily report that. But until we know, and we know for sure, I'm not comfortable doing it, because whilst we have a laugh, and this is funny, we like to get things right, and we like to be serious.
Well, yeah, but we're not actually we can't determine what actually killed them.
No, of course we can't.
But what we can say is, to put a tweet out like that and then die a year later, it doesn't really bode well for the.
Doesn't help.
Let's just say the tweet didn't age well.
No, it certainly didn't. It definitely didn't. And but you know, at the end of the day, we try and do things funny but straight. So what we'll do is we will keep an eye on it, and if more comes to light, we'll report it straight away.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a few Australian tennis players having heart attacks and things. And you remember what's his name? What was the popular guy, the cricketer?
Oh, Shane Warne.
Yeah, Shane Warne. He went very quickly with his heart attack after he had to get his treat to come back. Didn't
And I
he?
mean, cardiac arrest / random heart attack does appear to be increasing massively. I mean, look what happened. I think last night or the night before on stage in France, the musician just died.
There was a referee as well, dropped to the ground during the match and got carted off to hospital.
That's really not good. That's really,
No,
really
it's not.
not good. But shall we move on?
Yes, let's move on. Right. Now, this chap, Jim Lewis, has said, fun fact, China emits more CO2 than the entire Western Hemisphere. Yes, and that's correct.
It is correct.
And then when you add in India, you probably find that those two countries, in fact, those two countries do emit more than the rest of the world together.
Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do. And that's why I always find these climate change activists such massive hypocrites when they're doing what they're doing, when they're shutting down London, when they're doing we are, even if CO2 were responsible for all this mess, I contend that might not be the case, but let's go with it. And even if that were the case, they're doing it all to a country that emits less than 1% of the world's carbon emissions. Less than 1%.
Yeah.
And so I would say we're not really an issue. And yet there they are, out all the time, causing disruption, pissing people off, upsetting people. There has to come a time when, if they really are serious, they will get on their planes, and I know, don't get on a plane, but they will go to places like China, they will go to places like India, and they will protest where it needs to happen. They're not going to do that because, Tiananmen Square happened, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, China's not the kind of place where you get away with doing that kind of protest.
No, absolutely not. You're absolutely right.
China is asshole!
I mean, I didn't say it, but... And if you're enjoying this, then please, once again, just leave a little like. We enjoy a little like. We appreciate a little like and a share. Click that share button. Shall we move on, John?
Yeah. So if you remember on Friday, Elon said that he was going to keep providing Starlink for free to Ukraine despite it losing money.
Yeah, he did.
And then our friend Kim.com has jumped on this.
He has. What has he said?
He said, in other words, you'll continue to your support for the US proxy war in Ukraine, despite your better knowledge that this is a US proxy war and the risk of nuclear war because of the US proxy war. And we're supposed to believe that you will fix Twitter? How utterly disappointing. Oh, a spat between the bros.
Oh, a bro spat.
Yeah. But then we go on to the next tweet.
Yeah.
And they seem to make it up relatively quickly, don't they?
They do. He said, I'm trying my hardest to de-escalate this situation and obviously failing. And Kim.com has responded here, you're not failing, Elon, quite the opposite. Your call for peace has given a lot of people hope. I almost gave up with my efforts to educate people about the massive risk humanity is facing. Then came your peace tweet. It re-energized me. Be a force for good. Let's stop this war. Now, let me just ask you a question here.
Go on.
Do Kim.com and Elon Musk have the capability, capacity, and ability between them to stop a war?
No.
No, they don't, do they?
No, they don't. They're just playing it for clicks and likes, aren't they?
It does appear so. It does appear they are playing it for clicks and likes. But, the intention seems okay. The intention seems good.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on with Twitter, though? Let's talk about Elon and Twitter for a moment.
Yeah, what is going on? When's he buying it?
Well, he doesn't seem to own it right now, does he?
No, he doesn't. So when's he getting it?
Well, it's supposed to close by the 28th of October, I believe.
All right, okay.
That's the date that the court has given. I'm honestly not sure. And yes, now Natasha in the chat there has just alluded to, and we found this out not long before going on air. Another billionaire has decided to buy an obscure social media platform. Kanye West is buying Parler.
Yeah, but I mean, really, why?
Isn't Parler banned from like the App Store and the Play Store and everything? So he can't.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, why bother? I mean, I suppose so. It helps out I mean, imagine if we'd made a chat.
We did try, didn't we?
Yeah, well, we didn't really give it much.
Well, no, because
effort.
we've got a lot to do. We've got a lot to do.
Yeah, we do.
Natasha wonders, is it a tax dodge? Well, it could be.
Could be.
It could be, but do you know what? It's because Kanye's been banned off Instagram. It's because he's been being banned off Twitter, and he's basically doing an Elon, and he's going, "I'll just get me own." But he's not making his own. He's not making his own. That's what Elon's doing. I'll just get me own. But yeah, I want one like, I'll buy Twitter. If he does it and he gives me back my account at Disabled Journo and my other account at Ministry Dissent, all power to you, because they were both banned for absolutely no reason. And I will take those accounts and all the followers back, and we can grow this brand here through them. But you need your account back as well, because you were banned for making a bloody joke.
Yeah, I know.
But you know, all power to them if they're going to do this. I don't want to see people fail. There are some people I would like to see fail, but all power to you. I look forward to seeing what you do with these platforms, if anything at all. Shall we move on?
Yeah, well, do you want to move on, or do you want to call it, because that's the hour?
Well, I think we could give it 5 more minutes. I'm quite enjoying this.
Okay.
So we move to the Department of Defense in the United States.
Yeah, well, the Secretary of Defense appears to have no concept of he appears to have no concept of irony.
Well, nobody in government has a concept of irony.
Yeah, but
John.
America, of all countries.
Yep.
Countries around the globe have rejected Putin's grim vision of a world where, and this is the bit, big powers can trample borders by force.
Hello, Iraq.
Oh, hello, says the country that's had 201 foreign incursions since the Second World War.
Well, I mean, it's quite impressive, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean that is impressive.
No concept. They have no concept of irony.
Of course they don't. Of course they have no concept of irony. Nobody in government, like I said, has any concept of irony. Because when it comes to things like this, the mantra always is, it's okay when we do it. And it's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
United States will say that. China will say it when they're doing it. It's okay when we do it. Russia, it's definitely okay when we do it, comrade. It's always okay when we do it. Let's go on, shall we?
I'm not going to say much about the next slide. I'm just glad that I had my scarlet fever and typhoid. Oh no, hold on. I didn't. Well, how did we get rid of them?
I'm just going to move on.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to move on.
That's completely strange.
Yeah, it is completely strange. It makes absolutely no sense. And once again, one more time, if you are enjoying this, please leave a like and hit that share button. We would really appreciate it. John, why are we looking at electric minis?
Because where are they going?
China is asshole.
Ah, they go China. They go China.
Yeah. So like we said, you start to put the screws on the corporations here, and what do? They just move out.
They just move out.
And Mini's a German company. They bought the name, so it's BMW basically, and they're going to ship all the production of their electric stuff to China, because that's where all the stuff is.
Absolutely.
That's where all the rare earth minerals are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Between China, Africa, and Russia. Russia, believe it or not, has a substantial amount of rare earth minerals that are required for batteries.
Oh, and with that, John, I do think that may be the place.
I think it might, yes.
I do. I think that may be the place to call the show. So, before I let you do your outro, I am going to once again implore people, if you haven't already, please leave a like on the show, click that share button, send the link out and have people watch it back. If you haven't enjoyed it, then we apologise. There's nothing much we can really do about that. But if you feel...
Although it's quite disappointing to lose a sub during the show.
Has it happened again?
Yes.
You know
but
what?
We know who it is.
We know who it is, yeah. You know what, it doesn't matter, because if you feel we are worthy of your support, then please consider going to patreon.com/chasing dissent or kofi.com/chasing dissent. That's ko-fi.com/chasing dissent.
Oh, excuse me.
And supporting us, and we would really, really appreciate that as we try and grow this brand. Also, tonight, around 10ish, half 10, we will be live on our second channel, 100 Acre Swamp. That is 100 number Acre Swamp. So if you are not subscribed over there, please go and subscribe over there, because we are going to watch a film and then we are going to review it live. What are we watching, John?
I think we're watching Halloween Ends.
We are. We are watching Halloween Ends. So, if you want to know what we think of the latest Blumhouse Halloween movie, then please feel free to come over to 100 Acre Swamp. We do all sorts over there. It's pretty much an anything goes channel. We do travel, we do films, we do our weekly show called Dismal Disney, which is kind of in the air at the moment because our co-host Ollie is really not well. Thanks to his treats, shall we say?
Yeah.
But other than that, John.
Well, I think the only thing we want to maybe mention is Subscribestar and why we're probably going to drop it, because the issue is that we can't really get the money out.
No.
They've put very restrictive criteria on it to be able to take the money back out.
Yeah.
And we've never had any money out of it. So what I'm going to try and do is see if I can refund the money to people that have subscribed to us on Subscribestar. They also don't do automatic subscriptions, so the couple of people that subscribed and then never resubscribed have just only ever subscribed once.
Yeah.
So the whole thing's just a bit of a nightmare, and it's nothing to do with the fact that it's Russian. Okay. So, and with that, I'd like to thank you one and all for attending this episode 142 of Chasing Dissent Live, brought to you by your hosts, John and Ben, in the afternoon.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's all we've got time for this evening, so it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Stop playing with my bust!
Good night, everybody.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy.
You're a what?
A pianist!
Mwah! Good night, everybody.
You have been a delightful audience. So, good night. Thank you.
Oh, my bottom hurts. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob.
Oh, I did love that hamster so. I took it into bed with me every night, you know.
Good night, everybody.
I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think I have to go now. I've been standing here for a very long time. I think the end of the show must have come and gone.
There you go. That's our solar system. You forgot Uranus. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening. You've been very nice to work to.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.